The American presidential debates have captivated the world.
The proponents of a Trump presidency.
I will be like Hillary Clinton and go straight to the point.
When we're talking about enemies, America has
Vigor
lots
is good
of them.
and strength is commendable.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Presidential Debates African Youth Edition. Now, the American presidential elections have captivated audiences around the world. We have listened to their positions, we've listened to their insults and marveled with shock, and we have inspected their policies. Some of those policies most directly affect us here on the African continent, two of them especially, immigrations and foreign policy. Now, I have four debaters here who will do their best to stand in the shoes of these candidates and explain their positions to us. Will they change our minds? Well, that remains to be seen. Here on the Clinton side of the argument, we have Paula Daniel Adelesi and Olumide Gbadebo. On the Trump side of the equation, we have Ikenna Kwekumali and Temiloluwa Awobiogbon. Now, they're going to do their best. They're going to break down the arguments. It remains for you to be convinced. We're getting into it right now. Our first debate will be on immigration, and I'm sure that this is something we will all agree is very important, especially because there's a number of African young people that leave for other countries, for education, for work opportunities, whatever reason. Now, the Trump and Clinton positions on this topic are very clear, and our debaters will have the task of sharing these points of view with you. Your 2 minutes will start now, as soon as I step out. Temiloluwa, you're going first because you're on my right. This is not to discriminate against left-handed people. Your 2 minutes start now.
Allow me to ask you a simple question. Which country in the whole world throws open its borders and declares uninhibited access to all and sundry? It remains an incontrovertible fact that immigration laws, by their very nature, are designed to act as a sieve or a filter, if you please. If that were not the case, it would be a recipe for chaos, confusion, and disorder. What that simply means is this. The underlying principle is that you should not be allowed entry into a country if you've not shown enough reason to be in that country at a particular time. Donald Trump has said that on assumption of office as the 45th president of the United States of America, he will ensure that millions of undocumented migrants are deported to their countries of origin. Now, that is a bold move, if you ask me. This particular situation brings up to mind three questions. Number one, what tangible value are these undocumented migrants adding to the American society as a whole? What is the aggregate contribution of these undocumented migrants to the American economy? 3, what argument can we put forward to continue to justify their stay on American soil? Ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line is this. There are legal means to get into the United States of America, and there are illegal means. If you get in there illegally, you need to face the wrath of the law. Now, imagine a situation in which two undocumented migrants commit a crime, say in New York City, and in the process leave their fingerprints all over the scene. These are people with no social security number, no health insurance, no government-issued means of identification. That is the clear definition of a high-level security risk.
I will be like Hillary Clinton and go straight to the point. First of all, the story of America is in itself a story of immigration. How many of the current citizens can trace their lineage and find themselves still on the soil they occupy today? If we are to chase all of those people out, barely 10% of the population will be left. What then would be the United States of America? To answer your questions, first of all, what is the value of the people who are currently in question? How do you quantify this? What is the value of a family? A family is the unit of society. How then do you define who should stay and who should go? When a mother is an illegal citizen, but has 5 children who by right are citizens of the United States, they're all below 18. Should we chase the mother away and leave 5 children to be fed, nurtured, trained, raised by who? The question of immigration today is not about chasing people away. It is about reforming the rules. making it easier for people to enter legally. The truth of the matter is, in any advanced society, such as the United States today, we have three classes of immigrants: highly skilled, guest workers, and the illegal ones. We need to look at the ratio of the highly skilled employees to the ratio of the illegals and find out if there is a way to shift the balance such that it becomes easier for immigrants to add value to society. After all, the United States is nothing if it does not stand for value. The United States currently stretches its hands out to the whole world to say they want to help. If you want to help, it is important to look at a situation, define it, adjust it, and make it applicable to your reality. That is what this conversation is about. It's not about chasing people away. It's about ensuring that it is easier for people to do the right thing, which is what the United States stands for. Thank you.
You each have 1 minute to either criticize your opponent's point of view or issue any sort of rebuttal that you feel appropriate. Temiloluwa, since you started the discussion, you will go first. So your 1 minute rebuttal starts now.
According to US population figures, the total population is 324 million. Then, of course, according to the Department of Homeland Security, the estimated number of undocumented migrants is 11.4 million. My opponent, perhaps in a bid to whip up emotions, said if you chase all undocumented migrants away from the United States of America, what you'll be left is 10% of the population. What I just stated clearly shows that to be inaccurate. The pathway to citizenship idea is as defective as it sounds. Just imagine, all I need to do to be placed on the pathway to American citizenship is to get into the United States of America through illegal means. The question is this: is America as a country prepared for the influx of migrants from all over the world? Thank you.
America is the world's greatest economy. America can actually feed the entire world if it chose to. 11 million people do not make a difference. 11 million proper migrants sure do. Imagine 11 million skilled workers, graduates, carpenters, artisans, who are able to actually add value to a society, do their jobs without fear. Imagine the value of things like childcare, housework, how those things would come down and become more manageable if people who can do these things are no longer doing it under the radar and it is no longer a shady thing to do. The question remains, do we want to allow people to enter the US properly? Or should we continue this stem, which will not stop, of people who continue to follow shady means? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Temiloluwa and Olumide. You have presented your arguments on immigration. We're going to take a really quick break. When we get back, we will be discussing foreign policy. Welcome back. We're still here at the Presidential Debates African Youth Edition. Our first round featured arguments on immigration. For this round, we will be focusing on foreign policy. Fola is going to be speaking on the Clinton side of the equation, and Ikenna will be speaking on the Trump side of the equation. Gentlemen, you have 2 minutes to make your initial arguments. After that, you have 1 minute for a rebuttal or to criticize your opponent's point. So I'm going to get out of your way now to avoid all the bullets. Ikenna, we'll start with you. Your 2 minutes start now.
The basis of every nation is its ability to depend on its citizens to put the nation first. So when you look at America's foreign policy, you cannot help but weep at a once strong nation that is perceived as weak by its enemies all over the world. And when we are talking about enemies, America has lots of them. One of the first things I will do if I come into the seat of the President of the United States of America is to revivify America's stance in the world. Once upon a time, our enemies looked at us and they shuddered with fear and trepidation. we have become a caricature in the eyes of little miniature terrorist cells. And talking about terrorist cells, you can't help but mention the reprehensible ISIS. And one of the first things to do is to look for their source of funding. I intend to guide missiles to every refinery that seeks to fund these terrorist cells. You can look at the disadvantages of such cells. When you look at a country like Nigeria, they have allowed themselves to hobnob with the Boko Haram. And look at what Boko Haram is doing to Nigeria. It will not happen to the United States of America. There is no ideology that is equal to the blood of the citizen of the United States of America. Then you look at our nuclear policy with Iran, which is laughable. I repudiate, I reject, and I denounce such a foreign policy that seeks to hand carrots to every banana republic, that seeks to threaten the entire world with its funny nuclear programs. Then, of course, talking about NATO, it is time everybody stops seeing America as a free lunch. If you want protection, you must contribute your quota as an ally of NATO.
Vigor is good and strength is commendable, but passion is not foreign policy. As of January 2016, the United States alone was owing 18.96 trillion US dollars. And guess what? 5.4 out of this figure is foreign debts. My gentleman friend here talks about showing vigor and strength to the enemies of America. Have you forgotten that Americans live abroad? And any funny attempt at crushing anyone will also crush American citizens? Have you forgotten that we have embassies in virtually all the countries of the world? What exactly are the issues that we're facing? The Middle East is in trouble. We have to tackle that. We have to ensure that ISIS does not lay its hands on nuclear weapons, on so many other funny items. But the gentleman here certainly cannot handle that. The man who flips at a tweet wants to handle nuclear weapons. That's certainly not possible. What we need to look at is Europe battling ISIS. Europe battling terrorism. We need to look at Russia expanding its own influence and China trying to take over as the world power, both as a military and as the biggest economy from China. Those are the real issues. Guess why we're not there yet? Or guess who is exporting the jobs to China? Donald Trump. The same Mexico that he wants to build a wall around, the steel of the hotel that he just launched came from Mexico. So what we need to do is to maintain an open door policy to ensure that people who want to come in legally and do business in the United States can actually come in. And that does not in any way portray us as weak. What it means is that we are wise, because there is no nation that can build its own economy by itself. You can only build your nation by collaboration with other countries of the world. So we must maintain an open door policy and engage everyone. Not violence, not force, because force has not helped anyone.
My gentlemen, did I hear you say Russia? America has given Putin the opportunity to behave like he's the boss. Putin is not the boss. He is what he is today because Americans have chosen to allow him to be so. Did you say passion? Which nation survives on passion? We must show our strength. Our direct rivals are the Chinese and the Russians. And so help me God, I will put them in their place. A time must come when every American on foreign soil must be looked upon as precious stones, because they will understand that the spilling of any American blood will mean the leveling of every village, every town, and every city. The Americans must show strength to take their place, their rightful place where they belong to in the world. We will not achieve that by passion. We will achieve that by strength.
But let me remind Mr. Donald Trump that his paternal ancestry is German and that his maternal ancestry is Scottish. If America did not open its doors to other people and engage them, Donald Trump today will not be an American. We intend to open our doors to more Americans, keep them safe, engage wisely with our enemies, and ensure that anybody who wants to be reasonable, we will be reasonable with them. And anybody who does not want to be reasonable, we will not go the way they are. Because you can't answer a fool, because you'll be taken for a fool. Thank you.
I had no idea that foreign policy was this Spicy. That was definitely an argument. Now we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, our debaters will give us their final arguments on why they believe the person they are standing for is the best person for the job. We'll be right back. Rarely before in the world have we seen an election that has polarized citizens so strongly. People are either firmly on one side or firmly on the other. There is no middle ground. Now, for the next few minutes, our debaters will give us their reasons why they believe the person they are standing for is the best person for the job. They will have 90 seconds to convince us, and let's hope that they do a good job of it. Olumide, your 90 seconds start now.
Politics is rarely a question of who is right or who is wrong. Usually it's about what's the best thing to do in this situation. Faced with a President Trump or President Clinton, whose hand is going to be on the trigger that will determine whether we have another few thousand years or another few thousand hours, I would prefer to have a sane, experienced human being in charge of affairs than to have somebody who simply gets upset by every statement, every passing emotion becomes something that needs to be reacted to, that needs to be acted upon. You cannot be the leader of the free world, and in turn the leader of the world in general, and be so emotional and flighty when it comes to taking hard decisions that will determine the future of every single citizen of the world. I want a calm human being. I want Hillary Clinton. Thank you.
For a man who was able to grow a multi-million-dollar business into a multi-billion-dollar organization, the fact remains clear, and that is he knows what he is doing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the technical expertise that Donald Trump brings to the table in respect of managing the economy. Donald Trump is the clear epitome of a smart businessman who is smart enough to surround himself with brilliant minds that will keep the American economy on the path of continued growth and development. Depending on whom you ask, the Trump Organization, where Donald Trump serves as chairman and president, is responsible for creating between 20,000 and 35,000 jobs, worth with their interest in real estate development, property development, sales and marketing, brokerage, and investing. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has indeed said that yes, creating jobs will be the focus of his economic policies. Let me ask you a question. Does that not typify the type of leader who can formulate sound business and economic policies, make the right decisions, and take the right actions that will keep the American economy on the path of forward movement? This is not about sentiment or whipping up emotions. The facts speak for themselves.
You know, first and foremost, I find it very laughable that everyone will refer to Donald Trump as a loose cannon. But of course, they forget that he is within the most tested democratic structure ever known to man. The democratic structure of the United States of America. They talk as if he can just wake up one morning and declare war on any country in the world without being subject to the same democratic structure that has served the United States of America. You know what I see? I see fear in the eyes of people who seek to put down Trump. They've forgotten something about the American anthem. The land of the free, yes, but the home of the brave. America will not survive if they are weak. We already have little countries that are already taking pot shots at America. I say once more, this was not the dreams of our fathers, the Roosevelts, the Washingtons. No. I stand for bravery. I stand for courage. I stand for strength. I stand for the fact that we should close our borders to immigrants that come to portend trouble within our nation. I stand for those families that lost their children in the 9/11 disaster simply because America was too weak to take a stand against terrorist cells. We must understand that freedom is the most expensive commodity to buy. And if you're not ready to spend your blood and your money, then just forget about the United States of America.
The proponents of a Trump presidency say that he should become the president of the United States because he has $6 billion in his account. That's less than a quarter of the budget of Harvard University. And you think that because of that, we should make him a president of this country? Mr. Trump has $6 billion, yes, but that's also less than half the budget of a council in the United States. But compared to Hillary Clinton, Hillary has been First Lady of her council. She was First Lady of the United States, was in the Senate, and then Secretary of State. 31 years experience is nothing compared to what what Trump is pushing forward to you. He's just selling sentiments. Let's remember that Mr. Trump also does not have clear points. Mr. Trump, what are your plans? He says, I have big plans. What are your plans? I have really big plans. But let me tell you what, Hillary has a plan. What does Hillary want to do? She wants to make sure that she doesn't raise taxes for middle class, and she's also going to raise the federal minimum wage, and she has an open door policy that allowed people like Donald Trump become an American. So remember, when you vote for Trump, you're simply closing down the doors that actually helped you to become who you are. Hillary is the way to go. She engages dialogue, she's reasonable, and she represents the values of an ideal American.
Obviously, points are being made in this conversation. We're going to take a break, and when we get back, our debaters will bring it home to the continent. Don't go anywhere. For the last few minutes, we have heard our debaters argue their points and present their positions. But let's bring it home to the continent. What can Africa learn from the American presidential process? What can we do as young people to build a democracy that we can be proud of? Our debaters will have 90 seconds each to give us their viewpoint on the youth, on democracy, and how we can make it work. Starting this is Olumide. She's going to have 90 seconds to share her vision for African democracy. Olumide, the 90 seconds start now.
Fellow African youth, looking at the American elections, the one thing that has struck me is the interest of every citizen, be it for Trump or for Clinton. Literally every American citizen is vested in these elections. Whatever their reasons are, they have an opinion, they care. We bring that back to us. How many of us actually care about who gets where? Do we even care about what happens in our immediate environment? Do you know your local government chairman? Have you ever seen the Nigerian Constitution? Do you understand how much it affects you? We sit down and talk a lot. Social media has made it so easy for everybody to have an opinion. But after you talk, what do you do? Do you still throw trash on the floor? It's your floor. Your taxes maintain it. Do you still mess up government property? Who is government? You and I. The police officer you insulted yesterday, he works for you. You are the citizen he has sworn to serve and protect. Are you aware that every member of NAS today is actually your employee? Do you know that with just 100,000 signatures, you have a right to call home a senator? Even less for a member of the House of Reps. We do not know the rights we hold as citizens of Nigeria. If I can bring anything out of this situation in the US, it is for each and every one of us to take the time to realize that the future of this nation is not in the hand of any president, governor, or senator. It is in our hands. And change will only begin when we decide to make it happen. Thank you.
Very passionate position by Olumide. Coming right after her is Temiloluwa. Temiloluwa, you have 90 seconds.
Democracy in Africa requires your participation. It also requires my participation. Today, I stand as a young person and speak from my heart to all young people in Africa. The truth of the matter is this: whatever change we intend to see in our nations must start from us. It is said that the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. May I let you know, tomorrow, as we know it to be, is not the next day. Tomorrow is not next week. Tomorrow is not next year. Tomorrow is not 5 years' time. Tomorrow is not 10 years from now. Tomorrow starts right here, right now. It is time for us to stop being social media critics. It is time for us to stop being armchair critics. It is time for us to stop being newspaper column critics. If it will require joining an already registered political party, the time to act is right here, right now. If it will require teaming up with other young people to register a political party, the time to start is right here, right now. If it will require being involved in mass mobilization right from the grassroots, the time to act is right here, right now. Africa is waiting for you.
All right, first and foremost, I'd like to commend the Nigerian youth and their ability to be open-minded and much more aware. But then I would have to wield the stick, because what we have done is we have spawned a generation of keyboard warriors. We have people that sit down in their homes, looking at their mobile phones, making all sorts of comments, but when it is time to make the much needed sacrifice to make that change, they stay at home. They hide under mommy and daddy. Nobody wants to die for the greater tomorrow. It's well and good if your neighbor's son dies or your colleague dies. So far as you don't die, it's all well and good. How do you make that desired change without the spilling of blood? It's all good. For example, a lot of politicians, they steal money. Hey, if they are caught and they are made to pay, you say, hey, come on, why are they carrying them? This is what they call it here. They call it witch hunting. It's only in this country that you hear such a travesty as witch hunting. They have stolen your heritage. You don't have a tomorrow, and you're talking about a witch hunt. And the same youths will go out on the streets and they will put a tire on a small individual that just robbed a sachet of pure water. For goodness sakes, Nigerian youths, let your brains come back. The future of this country is in your hands. The future of Africa remains with you.
I can say that the intelligence of American politicians actually amuses me. And I think that's where we need to begin with for our African leaders. Can you hear a conversation of the African leaders and compare it with that of the American or European leaders? Can you look at the processes of the American election, the processes of the European elections and that of Africa? See what each candidate in the last election or in the ongoing election in America has actually gone through to become the nominee of the party. Do we subject our own leaders to that kind of accountability before they become the candidate of the party? You and I know what the answers are. Once they have the money, they can become presidents. Once they have the money, they can become leaders. And that's why we elect them, and they can't even make succinct statements as leaders of Africa. We need to come up with intelligent people. And you and I are intelligent, but the apathy of the intelligent has made the fools to rule over them. We have to change that. Thank you.
Now that is the debate for you. There are many people that might wonder, why should we on the continent care about the elections of people in another country? This is it. There are lessons for us to learn as a continent. There are lessons for us to learn as young people. There are things that we can imbibe to build our democracies so that one day we can look at our continent, look at our countries with the same joy and pride that people all over the world look at theirs. My name is Ari Toko. Thank you for watching.